Have you ever felt like something about life has changed? Like the world doesn't feel the same as it used to, but you can't quite put your finger on it. Maybe you've noticed that time seems to move differently, sometimes speeding up, sometimes feeling like it's standing still. Or perhaps your relationships, your emotions, and even your sense of purpose feel like they've been thrown into a kind of cosmic blender, pushing you to question everything you thought you knew. Let me tell you something, this isn't random. It's not your imagination. These are the signs that you're already stepping into the fifth dimension. The problem is, most of us don't realize it. We ignore the signs, brushing them off as coincidences or temporary phases. But what if I told you that you're already living in a higher state of consciousness? That the fifth dimension isn't some far-off mystical place, but something you've already begun to experience, even if you don't fully understand it yet. Let's start by breaking this down. What is the fifth dimension? It's not a physical place you can visit, like stepping into another room or traveling to another planet. The fifth dimension is a state of consciousness, a higher frequency of energy where duality begins to dissolve and unity becomes the natural way of being. In the third dimension, where most of us have spent our lives, everything is rooted in separation. There's me and you, good and bad, success and failure. It's a world of opposites, competition and conflict. But as humanity evolves, as you evolve, you're beginning to transcend this limited way of thinking. The fourth dimension acts as a bridge, where you start to question these old paradigms and awaken to the possibility of something greater. And when you step into the fifth dimension, you begin to see the world through the lens of love, interconnectedness, and infinite potential. But here's the thing, most of us don't realize we're already moving through this transformation. That's why it feels so disorienting. You're not just living through a shift in your personal life, you're living through a shift in the entire fabric of reality. The signs are all around you, but the question is, are you paying attention? Because the moment you start to notice and embrace these signs, your entire experience of life begins to change.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
One of the clearest signs that you're already stepping into the fifth dimension is the way your sense of time is shifting. Have you noticed that the old idea of linear time doesn't seem to make sense anymore? Days might feel like they're flying by, yet certain moments feel eternal. You might find yourself losing track of time altogether, as if it's becoming less and less relevant to how you live your life. This is because in the fifth dimension, time isn't something rigid or fixed. It's fluid, like a river, and your consciousness begins to move beyond the old constructs of past, present, and future. You start to realize that everything is happening now. So, let me ask you, how often do you catch yourself worrying about the future or dwelling on the past? And what would happen if you let yourself fully live in the present moment? Because the present is where the fifth dimension reveals itself. Another sign that you're already in the fifth dimension is the way you're experiencing relationships. In the third dimension, relationships are often transactional. We give love with the expectation of receiving something in return: validation, security, or a sense of worth. But as your vibration rises, you may notice that your relationships are beginning to shift. You're no longer satisfied with surface-level connections. You crave depth, authenticity, and mutual growth. You might even find that certain relationships fall away, not because of conflict, but because they no longer resonate with the person you're becoming. This can feel painful, but it's actually a sign of progress. The fifth dimension is about unity, not in the sense of clinging to others, but in recognizing the oneness that connects all beings. So, let me ask you this: are you holding on to relationships that no longer align with your soul's path? And are you willing to let go, trusting that what's meant for you will flow into your life naturally. One of the most profound signs of the fifth dimension is the way your intuition is awakening. You might find yourself just knowing things without being able to explain how. Maybe you think of someone and they call you moments later. Or you have a gut feeling that leads you to the right decision, even when logic would have told you otherwise. This isn't a coincidence, it's a reflection of your expanded consciousness. In the fifth dimension, intuition isn't just a tool, it's your natural state of being. You start to trust yourself on a deeper level, realizing that the answers you seek are already within you. But here's the question, are you listening to your intuition, or are you still letting doubt and fear drown it out? Because the more you trust it, the more it will guide you toward the life you're meant to live. Another undeniable sign that you're stepping into the fifth dimension is the way you're beginning to experience synchronicities. Have you ever noticed how certain numbers, symbols, or events seem to show up in your life repeatedly, almost as if the universe is trying to send you a message? These synchronicities are not random, they're breadcrumbs from the universe, guiding you toward your highest path. Maybe you keep seeing the same numbers, like 1111 or 222, or you encounter the same theme in books, conversations, or dreams. These are the signs that you're aligning with the flow of the fifth dimension, where everything is interconnected and there are no coincidences. But again, the question is, are you paying attention? And are you willing to follow the guidance these signs are offering you? Perhaps one of the most challenging signs of the fifth dimension is the way your old fears and patterns seem to rise to the surface. When this happens, it can feel like you're moving backward, like all the work you've done on yourself is being undone. But this is an illusion. What's really happening is that the higher frequencies of the fifth dimension are bringing everything that no longer serves you to the surface so it can be released. I think of it like cleaning out a closet. You have to pull out all the old junk and look at it before you can let it go. This is the process of healing, and while it can feel uncomfortable, it's also a sign that you're making space for something greater. So, let me ask you, what fears, beliefs, or habits are you still holding on to that no longer align with the person you're becoming? And are you ready to release them, even if it feels uncomfortable? The truth is, stepping into the fifth dimension isn't about escaping the challenges of life. It's about transforming the way you experience them. It's about realizing that you're not separate from the universe, you are the universe, expressing itself in human form. And the moment you stop ignoring the signs, the moment you start embracing the shifts happening within and around you, is the moment you fully step into this higher state of being. As you begin to notice the signs, the subtle but powerful truth reveals itself. You're not just witnessing the fifth dimension, you're living it. The world around you is shifting in ways that go beyond what your logical mind can fully grasp. What's fascinating is that these transformations don't always announce themselves with loud, dramatic moments. Instead, they unfold quietly, like whispers from the universe, reshaping your reality in ways that are both profound and deeply personal. But one of the most significant changes you may notice is the way you experience emotions. In the third dimension, emotions often feel like something that happens to us, waves that crash over us, leaving us feeling powerless. But as you move into the fifth dimension, your relationship with emotions begins to shift. You start to see them not as obstacles, but as messengers. You realize that every emotion, no matter how uncomfortable, is a guide pointing you toward greater alignment with your true self. For example, sadness may no longer feel like something you need to avoid or suppress. Instead, you might recognize it as a signal that something in your life needs attention or healing. Even anger, which many of us were taught to fear or reject, becomes a tool for transformation, showing you where boundaries need to be set or where your energy is being drained. So let me ask you, are you still resisting your emotions, or are you allowing them to guide you toward greater self-awareness and growth? Another hidden transformation that comes with living in the fifth dimension is the way your desires and goals begin to change. In the third dimension, we're often driven by external markers of success, money, status, material possessions. But while there's nothing inherently wrong with these things, you may notice that they no longer hold the same weight they once did. Instead, you start to feel a deeper pull toward purpose and fulfillment. You might find yourself asking, what truly matters to me? What impact do I want to have on the world? This shift isn't about abandoning your ambitions, it's about aligning them with your soul's highest calling. In the fifth dimension, success is no longer measured by how much you get, but by how much you give, how much you create, and how much you create, and how much you grow. So, ask yourself, are your current goals aligned with the person you're becoming, or are they rooted in who you used to be? One of the most subtle yet powerful transformations of the fifth dimension is the way you perceive challenges. In the third dimension, challenges are often seen as problems, things to be fixed, avoided, or overcome. But in the fifth dimension, challenges take on a new meaning. They become opportunities for expansion, invitations to step into a higher version of yourself. When something goes wrong, you no longer feel like a victim of circumstance. Instead, you start to ask deeper questions. What is this situation teaching me? How is this helping me grow? You begin to trust that everything happening in your life, even the difficult moments, is ultimately for your highest good. This doesn't mean you won't feel pain or frustration. It means you'll approach those feelings with a sense of curiosity and trust, rather than resistance. And here's the deeper question: what would your life look like if you saw every challenge as a gift, even when it doesn't feel like one in the moment? Another way the fifth dimension quietly reshapes your reality is through your sense of connection. In the third dimension, it's easy to feel isolated, like you're navigating life on your own. But as your consciousness expands, you start to feel the threads of connection that weave through everything. You begin to see yourself not as a separate individual, but as part of a greater whole. This sense of oneness doesn't just change the way you see others, it changes the way you see yourself. You start to realize that every thought, action, and intention you hold has an impact, not just on your life, but on the collective energy of the world. This is why, in the fifth dimension, acts of kindness, compassion, and forgiveness take on an almost sacred quality. They're no longer just nice things to do, they become powerful ways to align with the energy of unity and love. So let me ask you, are your actions contributing to the harmony of the world, or are they adding to the noise of separation? One of the most surprising transformations of the fifth dimension is the way your sense of identity begins to dissolve. In the third dimension, we spend so much time and energy building an identity, labels, roles, achievements that define who we are. But in the fifth dimension, you start to see that these identities are just masks, temporary expressions of something much greater. You realize that who you truly are cannot be contained by a job title, a relationship status, or even a name. You are infinite, eternal, a spark of divine consciousness experiencing life in human form. And as this realization deepens, something beautiful happens. You stop needing to prove yourself. You stop seeking validation from others because you found it within yourself. You begin to live not from a place of ego, but from a place of authenticity and purpose. So ask yourself, who are you without the labels, without the roles, without the masks? And are you willing to let go of who you think you're supposed to be, so you can step into who you truly are? Finally, One of the most powerful, but often overlooked transformations of the fifth dimension is the way you experience gratitude. Gratitude in the third dimension is often conditional. We're grateful when things go well, when life gives us what we want. But in the fifth dimension, gratitude becomes unconditional. You start to feel grateful not just for the good moments, but for all moments, even the ones that challenge or stretch you. You realize that every experience, no matter how small, is a gift, an opportunity to grow and expand. This kind of gratitude doesn't just change how you feel, it changes the energy you emit, which in turn changes the reality you attract. So let me leave you with this question: what would happen if you approached every moment of your life with gratitude, even the ones that don't immediately make sense? These hidden transformations are happening all around you all the time. The key is to notice them, to embrace them, and to trust that they are guiding you toward the life you're meant to live. The fifth dimension isn't something you have to find, it's already here, quietly reshaping your reality, waiting for you to fully step into it. Now that you've started noticing the signs and understanding the hidden transformations shaping your reality, the next step is perhaps the most important: living fully and intentionally in the fifth dimension. This is where the real magic begins, not just glimpsing this higher state of consciousness, but embodying it in every thought, action, and interaction. You're no longer a passive observer of the shift, you become an active participant, a co-creator of your own reality. But how do you do this? How do you stay grounded in the fifth dimension while navigating the challenges of being human? Let's explore how to fully embrace and manifest your new reality. The first step to living the fifth dimension is to consciously shift your perspective. In the third dimension, we're conditioned to see life as something that happens to us. We react to circumstances, often feeling like victims of fate or external forces. But in the fifth dimension, you begin to understand that life is happening through you. You are not separate from the universe, you are a co-creator of it. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every intention you hold shapes the reality you experience. This isn't just a spiritual concept, it's a law of energy. Like attracts like. So, let me ask you, are your thoughts and emotions aligned with the reality you want to create, or are they reinforcing the patterns you're trying to break? To live in the fifth dimension, you must cultivate what I call energetic responsibility. This means taking full ownership of the energy you bring into every moment. It's easy to slip into blame, judgment, or negativity, especially when things don't go as planned. But in the fifth dimension, you realize that every situation, no matter how challenging, is an opportunity to align with higher frequencies. For example, instead of reacting with frustration when someone is unkind or impatient, you respond with compassion, knowing that their behavior is a reflection of their inner state, not yours. This doesn't mean you allow others to drain your energy or take advantage of you. It means you choose your response from a place of empowerment, not reactivity. So ask yourself in difficult situations, am I reacting from my old patterns, or am I responding from the higher vibration of my true self? Another key to embodying the fifth dimension is learning to trust the flow of life. In the third dimension, we're taught to control everything, to plan, strategize, and force outcomes. But in the fifth dimension, control gives way to trust. You begin to recognize that the universe always has your back, even when things don't unfold the way you expect. This doesn't mean you stop taking action, it means you align your actions with the flow of universal energy. You set intentions, take inspired steps, and then allow the rest to unfold naturally. Trusting the flow doesn't mean giving up, it means letting go of the need to micromanage the universe. So let me ask you, where in your life are you still holding on too tightly? And what would happen if you surrendered, trusting that everything is unfolding for your highest good? Living in the fifth dimension also means embracing the power of presence. In the third dimension, our minds are often trapped in the past or racing toward the future. We dwell on regrets, replay old stories, or worry about what's to come. But the fifth dimension exists only in the now. The present moment is where your power resides, where all possibilities converge. When you're fully present, you're no longer caught in the illusions of time. You see life as it truly is, vibrant, alive, and full of infinite potential. This doesn't mean you never plan for the future, it means you don't let the future rob you of the richness of the present. So ask yourself, how often am I truly present with my life, with the people I love, with the world around me? And what can I do to bring myself back to the now? One of the most practical ways to embody the fifth dimension is to align your daily habits and routines with your higher vibration. Remember, your physical body is the vessel through which your consciousness experiences this reality. If you're not taking care of it, it becomes harder to maintain the frequencies of the fifth dimension. This doesn't mean you need to follow a strict regimen or achieve perfection. It simply means being mindful of what nourishes and supports your energy. Are you eating foods that make you feel alive? Are you moving your body in ways that feel joyful? Are you giving yourself time to rest and recharge? Your body, mind, and spirit are deeply interconnected, and when you nurture one, you elevate them all. Another essential practice for living in the fifth dimension is cultivating gratitude. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrational states you can embody, and it acts as a magnet for even more abundance, love, and joy. In the third dimension, gratitude is often conditional. We're grateful when things go our way. But in the fifth dimension, gratitude becomes a way of being. You start to see every moment, every experience, as a gift. Even the challenges are opportunities to grow and expand. When you approach life with gratitude, you align yourself with the flow of the universe, and miracles become a natural part of your reality. So let me ask you, what are you grateful for right now, in this very moment? And how can you carry that gratitude with you throughout your day? Finally, living in the fifth dimension means committing to authenticity. In this higher state of consciousness, there's no room for pretending, for wearing masks, or for living by someone else's expectations. The fifth dimension calls you to be fully, unapologetically yourself. This doesn't mean you'll never feel fear or doubt. It means you choose to show up anyway, trusting that your authenticity is your greatest gift to the world. When you live authentically, you inspire others to do the same. You become a living example of what's possible when we align with our true selves. So let me ask you, are you living a life that feels true to who you are, or are you still trying to fit into a version of yourself that no longer resonates? Living the fifth dimension isn't about escaping the challenges of the world, it's about transforming the way you experience them. It's about choosing love over fear, presence over distraction, and trust over control. It's about remembering who you truly are and embodying that truth in every moment. And when you do, the world around you begins to transform as well. You're no longer just living in the fifth dimension, you're creating it. When you fully embody the fifth dimension, something incredible begins to happen. Your internal transformation starts to ripple outward, reshaping not only your personal reality, but the world around you. This is one of the most profound truths about living in the fifth dimension. Your energy doesn't just stay contained within you. It radiates outward, influencing everything and everyone you come into contact with. You become a living example of what's possible, a beacon of light that uplifts others simply by being yourself. But how, exactly, does this ripple effect work? And how can you consciously use it to create a more harmonious world? First, let's talk about energy. Everything in the universe is vibration, and as you shift into the higher frequencies of the fifth dimension, your energy begins to resonate at a level that naturally inspires and uplifts others. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt lighter because of someone's presence? Or had a conversation with someone that left you feeling deeply renewed and inspired? That's the power of high-frequency energy. When you live in the fifth dimension, this is the energy you emit. Even without saying a word, your presence alone can shift the vibration of a space, helping others feel calmer, more aligned, and more open to their own growth. So ask yourself, what kind of energy am I bringing into the spaces I enter? Am I lifting others up, or am I letting external circumstances pull me down? Perhaps the most beautiful aspect of the ripple effect is that it's not something you have to force. You don't need to preach, convince, or try to change anyone. Simply by living in alignment with the fifth dimension, you naturally inspire others to awaken to their own potential. Your energy becomes an invitation, a quiet reminder that there's a higher way of being. And as more people step into this higher vibration, the collective consciousness begins to shift. The world transforms not through force, but through the gentle, powerful ripple of individual awakening.